right, let's go ahead and get ready to get back into it. I'm going to put my hand up on that chat. That whole time I was gibbering and jabbering and yapping, I was trying to figure out how I paused the lobby like you normally can inside of custom games. I forgot that it was an RLCS weekend, so they take that function out. So that's my bad. That's on me. Hand up. That's why I was trying to yibber yabber and get things reset. So we're going to go ahead and get things rolling for now, though. It's qualifiers, group stages here still for our Alberta Provincials qualifiers. It's round number 3 of group stages. Let's get it.
Yeah, we got Raiders versus Altitude coming in here. You know, the first couple minute and a half of the game, we're going to see them start filling it out here. A lot slower than the last 2 games. These teams taking their time to see how the other team reacts.
I think both teams realizing the importance of this this matchup in their group stage, realizing that you basically still have a chance to keep things alive if you have a top dog performance. You don't want to fall behind early, which means you don't want to overextend. But you know what? You still have to find a way to come out and grab the bull by the horns, and the Raiders able to do just that.
Yeah, getting that goal in the first minute of the match here is, you know, quite nice for them. Hopefully they can put another one down here to just get that security. You know, they can play a little bit more carefree because looks like both teams are a little tense right now.
Teams definitely feeling the pressure. Again, game 1 is always about trying to shake things off a little bit. Yeah, you've been playing through 2 series, but it hasn't been against this squad, and every team brings a little something different to the table. For the Raiders, they continue to put pressure towards this orange net, and that's going to be a second goal in the opening minute.
Yeah, keeping the ball over on that orange side. Honestly, the Altitude haven't been able to respond to the pressure that the Raiders have been putting down, and their rotations are looking a little bit sloppy. But we're going to see a shot off of the kickoff going towards the net.
Move forward here as it's going to be put on in. I try to find a way out there, but can't. Oh, over 2 though. Luminosity getting a little fancy with it. Can't keep quite the handle here as Altitude tries to set up their offense.
Yeah, being able to take it back. That was a nice move from Lomusity. Quite a nice move from him there, juking out the 2 members of Altitude.
As thus far in the opening, well, we'll call it 100 seconds of play as we do see now a 3rd goal that comes across here for the Raiders. I was actually going to say that the field control slightly in control of slightly in favor of Altitude. We've spent a little more time over on that blue half of the pitch. It has been the efficiency of their touches for the Raiders, though, that is really worth noting because they've only got themselves 3 shots, all of which have found the lace. Matter of fact, that one, the first one to not find the goal.
Yeah, the Raiders doing a great job, like you said, with their shot efficiency here, being able to make the seconds that they're on the orange side of the field count rather than just, you know, throwing the ball on over there. We've been seeing a couple of rotations from Altitude just going wrong. It looks like people in the wrong place at the wrong time. So hopefully they can adjust here in the last half of this match.
Definitely still time. Just as much as you saw the opposition score 3.5, you have the ability to do just that here for Altitude. But even if you don't, like you said, just get something to build upon going into game number 2. Their defense has at least stepped up and started shutting down the offense from the Raiders. They started 3 for 3. They've been able to deny the last 2 opportunities, but eventually it will be Wither Ward who will be able to find a 4th here for the Raiders.
Yeah, and I think that the mental fortitude that we had talked about before this match starting here, the Altitude, they really got to keep that in here because these misses that they're getting are like simple hits. And when you're down 2-0 or 0-2, sorry, it's easy to like get in your own head about whether or not you're doing the right things and make those or like miss those easy hits.
Trying to find a way out of their back half for now. Pragmatron sitting on the back of the goal line was sitting and waiting. Unfortunately, couldn't pull the trigger soon enough to leave that back line. Gave Wither Ward this space, and Wither Ward will be able to punish and find a 5th.
Yeah, being able to get those goals in. We have to see if Altitude can put anything up for this first game, or if they're just going to have to look towards the next and see what they can grab from this first experience playing against the Raiders.
think if anything that could be used here a little bit, I think it's just moving that third back for Altitude a little bit off that goal line. I understand that you've already allowed some goals and feel like, hey, maybe if we just sit someone here, they're more likely to be able to find those saves. But it's the natural rotation of a regular 3v3 of Rocket League that allows you to keep the consistent pressure across your defensive half. And while, yeah, putting that one person in goal might keep at least a section of the goal covered, now that's more of the field that the other two players are going to have to defend. And against a team like the Raiders, who have done a really good job of picking apart the defense, finding these open opportunities, you don't want to give them anything more, you know?
Yeah, and it looks like Altitude is really just relying on the Raiders coming to them and trying to save the shots, when in reality in Rocket League it's a lot better to try and attack or to try and defend a lot earlier on these shots and disrupt the defender or the attackers rather than just letting them do what they want.
Every meter that you close out, as you kind of close the gap between you and the opposition, that's less angle that they're able to find past you if they're looking to hit a shot. So sometimes just pushing yourself forward in control is the best thing that you can do, as long as you're not being overly aggressive. 50 seconds left though, and while the Raiders have found 5, let's make it 6 here now as that one crosses the goal line. It has felt like Altitude's defense is slowly started to bring in the reins. The only problem is this is still that best of 3 territory. So while they might not be able to come back in these final 50 seconds here in game number 1, they're going to have to come out with a sense of urgency in game number 2.
Exactly. Like I said before the match, I think the Raiders needed this one, and they're very well demonstrating that here to us in this first match of the best of 3 with a rather dominant performance over the Altitude.
30 seconds gone by. Maybe Altitude can just find themselves one. They've been stuck on this 3-shot marker for quite a bit, as it has felt like the Raiders defense has really started to lock things in a little bit, and also proving that sometimes a great offense makes your defense that much stronger. Simply playing keep away from this Altitude offense at times. It's final 15 seconds though. Maybe you can find yourself one as you moved it up into the Raiders half, but it will be Lomusity who will eventually pick the pockets and take it the other way.
Yeah, 4 seconds left on the clock. Doesn't look like Altitude is trying for very much here in terms of a goal, but rather recouping and getting ready for the second match of the series, where hopefully they can come out swinging.
Definitely felt like, as far as early on, they showed themselves some flashes. I feel like almost game number 1 here went similar to what we had seen in that game number 1 of that last series, where Altitude, once they fell behind, started questioning some of the decisions that they were making that they just barely missed out on. Than going halfway with the decision that you're making, because then you're not even fully committing to that thought, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think if anything for Altitude, they just have to commit to their decisions. And if it's a bad decision, then, you know, you can relook on that in the future and do better on it. But there was a lot of hesitation from Altitude, and they didn't really want to like go to the ball and, you know, intercept the attackers and have a sense of urgency on it. I felt like they were just sort of waiting for something to happen and reacting. I think if you are not going to be proactive, especially in a game like Rocket League, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities, which we saw this in this match between the two of the teams, right? Like Raiders just dominated, and they took advantage of the fact that Altitude was willing to sit there and let them make the moves.
Altitude only able to find themselves 3 shots, and a lot of that is because 2/3 of the game was spent back on their half of the pitch. It's hard to be able to put pressure on the opposite net when you're sitting on your goal line. But you know what? Let's go ahead and roll those scores back to 0. Let's go ahead and put 5 minutes on the clock. Let's go ahead and take to the pitch here and see if we can see our first game 3 forced here for the mainstream.
Yeah, we got 3 people going in, all of Altitude going for the contest on the kickoff. A little bit of an interesting decision there from them.
Trying to find a way out of their half. Here's MMA. They'll at least find a way to move it away from the goal line. Moves it back to the midfield, allows for them to reset. But unfortunately, the Raiders also doing a pretty good job of resetting things for them. You'll notice most of them have full tanks. And while, yeah, they've retreated back to their defensive half, this means now there's more field in front of them. They get to kind of play with the ball and see where they want to move up the field from there.
Yeah, the strategy this time around from Altitude looks interesting. We got Supplement in the goalpost. He's just sitting there. They got 2 people on the attacking side, but he's just waiting for the defender to attacker to come on their half.
Guess again, that kind of that thought process of, hey, I've got a defender here, but then all of a sudden you got 2 players who are responsible for building up pressure against 3 defenders, and that is quite the task to ask for from just a duo. We'll see if maybe they can make some adjustments, bring that third player up forward just a little bit more. Fragamatron was looking for the big pad because they were out of gas, which left the wide open back line. And unfortunately, as we do see Dark Rises again, picks the pocket, it will be Lomusity who just simply fires it towards an empty net, crosses the goal line, and that'll be the first in game 2.
Yeah, a little assist action going on there. I like to see how the Raiders are playing together and working off of each other here. I think Altitude needs to take a couple cues from them in terms of their performance this game.
He looks to feel the control, won't quite find it, but he'll pass his way past Superman, which means there is space if Dark Rises again can get there. It's just off of the post. It's passed back to Witherwar. Witherwar looks to fire it on. Bang, that one crosses. And we're 90 seconds into game number 2 when the Raiders find themselves up by 2.
Yeah, it's looking a lot like what we saw last game here. Again, Altitude just not on their A game right now, just constantly trying to catch up to the rotations and keep pace with the Raiders, but just aren't able to quite get there.
Feels like they're close at times, but close ain't gonna cut it in this racket. Just like that one there from Lomusity. That name trips me up every time. As they find that one off of the top post, but it is still pressure forward. Here for the Raiders. Dark rises again, rises up to the sky, left off for the teammate as Witherwar shot sails wide.
Yeah, and on defense here, like Altitude just looks like they're having issues getting up in the air and contesting these balls when they get up that high. I'd like to see them at least try and contest some of these shots a little earlier than they are.
That will be a third here for the Raiders as they continue to blitzkrieg the net. That's going to be a 7th shot, and we're not even to the midway point here in game number 2. I believe they only had another shot or two from that tally through the entirety of game 1.
Yeah, honestly, even more pressure from the Raiders this game, it feels like, than the last. They're constantly up in Altitude zone and just constantly putting the ball on net every single time.
Will be a 4th here, I think, again for Altitude. You gotta stay dialed on in. Just as easily as the Raiders were able to find 4, you can still do so on the other half of the pitch. Every run does indeed start with 1. Maybe they can find a way off of the pressure. They built off of this kickoff win to establish a little bit of an offense here.
Yeah, hopefully they can bring the 3rd member in here to apply some more pressure onto the Raiders. However, it's going to go over both of the Altitude's defense.
It's tough. You can see he tries to hit the 180, hits the E-brake to try and turn around in the back of the goal, and unfortunately, the momentum carries them so far in the back of the goal that even when they start moving forward, just can't quite get there in time. I think those are the worst ones as a player to watch because it's like, oh, I'm in the right spot. I'm just inches away. And instead, the lead gets extended. It's now to 5. Witherwar will be able to find a clear here as well and takes this ball and moves it up to the opposite side. Could they find 6? Yes, indeed. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, like you had said, you know, you're in the right position, but at the wrong orientation. I feel like he could have used something like a flip reset there in order to, or not, sorry, I believe it was flip reset, in order to reposition himself a little bit better there. And that's something that, as we can see in previous, like we had just talked about before, it's one of those technologies that have been learned throughout the time that Rocket League's been out.
There it is. It's now at 7-0 as now Dark Rises again has space. Lomusity has time. It's textbook there as the Raiders continue to find their offensive success.
Yeah, just an absolute stomp here in game 2 of this series here. Raiders just showing their absolute dominance over Altitude in terms of their positioning, their shot percentage, just overall.
Can you maybe find one? Yes, you can. Superman 2. It's the flick of the wrist to be able to put it past, well, just about everybody. And that one finds its way into that lower left-hand corner. There you go. That's something to build on if you're Altitude.
You would have thought that he heard me with how I was talking about the Raiders just before had to maybe quiet me down there in terms of what I was saying about the Raiders' performance and show off a little bit of himself.
The first, every run starts with 1. Of course, 95 seconds isn't much time, but there is still a possibility. And man, would I be here for it. Instead, it's Wither War who brings it back to a screeching halt and says, nah, you know what? We'll take our 7-goal lead once more.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what Fragmentron was doing in the middle of the net there. Just looks like spinning around, having a little bit of fun with it.
Here for the views and vibes, baby. Here for the views and vibes. It's the final minute and 25 seconds here. I think we already see which way this thing is heading for the Raiders. They will be able to pick up their first series win in sweeping fashion as well. We'll have to keep an eye on how the rest of the group stages play out to see if it'll be enough here for the Raiders to move on by, because actually the Raiders are in a group of 4. I was making a mistake. I thought they were in a group of 5, which meant they would all have one more game. But over in this group, they've only got 4 teams. So they will finish at a 1-2 series record, a 2-4 game record, which means they're going to have to hope that they get some help as far as from some of these other squads to make that playoff bracket. So they'll have to kind of wait by as this last round plays by.
Yeah, definitely interested in seeing what the seeding looks like moving into playoffs and where these teams all sit in terms of their level of play here, because Raiders versus Altitude here looks quite strong. However, I'd love to see them play against the 2-time national champions and see how they fare against them.
For sure, for sure. I mean, it felt like the Marauders were just playing at a different pace than even what we're seeing from either of the 2 squads here. You wonder how many more teams, as far as that have made their way to the ASEL in provincials here, are looking to be able to turn up the heat in that same sort of fashion. Final 7 seconds though, and it will become official. It will be the Raiders who move on in sweeping fashion. Again, with a huge dub for them, they will have to sit by and see if their playoff hopes stay alive.
Yeah, definitely waiting to see here if the Raiders, or sorry, if Altitude's going to be able to pick it up. Raiders trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, like you said. Performance these 2 games, absolutely incredible. I'd love to see them keep this up against some of the better teams in the tournament. Like I said, just the 2-time nationals. If they can keep even a similar performance in terms of score and how they're playing, I think they definitely have a chance.
Yeah, I think this was a big series for the Raiders. Hadn't quite found the success that they were looking for in their first 2 series. So to be able to come out and like end things in group stages with an exclamation point has to have them feeling at least a little bit better about themselves. And now they can even use this extra round as a little kind of a point to kind of chill out, maybe even watch some of the competition that you might be squaring off and start putting together some game plans. So speaking of trying to put together some game plans and getting some more games to watch, we're going to be trying to bring as much of our action to you as possible. I think since we had that little hiccup on our side of things with the lobby, we should be just about caught up with the rest of the round number 3 wrapping up. We'll be moving on to round number 4 here in just a moment. But if it is your first time through over here on the Twitch channel, if you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, make sure you hit that follow button down below and turn those notifications on. That way we can catch you when we go back live for some more ASEL esports action. We've got LCI Samurai Gold versus SHS Spartan Spear coming up next. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back right after a break.